Hey friends, well, here I am again. I want to start out this one by correcting something I said previously. I greatly overestimated the size of something. I mentioned my journals, my handwritten journals, and this is the July '08. And while you know, let's see if I can get the whole thing in the picture here. I thought it was like 5 inches thick or something, and it turns out it measures less than 3. So sorry for the exaggeration. That's still a whole lot of writing for any one month. And just to give you a sense of it, I don't write particularly large oh, the lighting is just too much, isn't it? Sorry. You can see some of it there. So it's there's that. Now, I just got finished with a journal. Pardon the hair, it's kind of crazy, it's still wet. And I wanted to share it with you. It's my current ride here in 3D, which I find endlessly amazing. And so this is on unworthiness and worthlessness. They hide in the folds of the garment. Now, this is the sense of that, not just the feeling. So, this is from today, which is January 7th, and I haven't looked up the Mayan day yet. I will share my latest growth initiations with you, my latest challenges. They could be called, but they're not that. Remember, dear friends, all is the embrace of the divine. Only that. Nothing that happens to me, to you, or to anyone else is anything but that. Only eyes of heart can see this as far as I know, so go within. With over 1,000 journals online so far, my recent path is available to share, though it's quite strange still to me. I live both the life of a hermit and yet also a life lived in public. Passing strange. Still, no matter, for one's heart always knows best, and following that is the shortest, quickest route to source that I know of. If you find one better, do let me know. No, never mind. I'm not into shortcuts. They're just not enticing. Everyone that I've seen so far has been laced with impurity of the soul, unwilling to just deal with what is, wishing to somehow skip over the now as if it were unimportant and held no value. This is, to me, some sort of blasphemy. It is in the now and here, the now here, the nowhere, where divinity abides, ever patient, awaiting our presence, our abidance as that. And it can wait for many lifetimes too. Now, as usual, I am still in the midst of what I'm sharing here, so I have no great final conclusions to offer, just my understanding so far. What I've been shown about self lately has been shocking to me. How many things can hide, as it were, in the folds of our garments and go unnoticed for so many years, lifetimes even? I find this amazing. Now, I do draw some comfort from my awareness of the 7% conscious mind. With 93% of our very own mind largely inaccessible, it's little wonder that there would be much about self we're not aware of. I've got to say, though, that that doesn't make the experience of it any less amazing. So, here's what I've discovered. Within myself lay hidden and well disguised a large measure of a sense of unworthiness, of worthlessness. It's amazing how it used the particular set of beliefs I hold to hide itself. It's very intricate, and I've only very recently started unfolding it, bringing it out to be seen. Vision may be our most powerful ally, my friends. Remember, that which is seen can never remain the same after that. If it is seen, it is changed. Even our current physics supports that. When we carry a sense of unworthiness, whether subconscious or conscious, it forms a block for certain aspects of divinity to manifest. Believe it or not, this is a use of free will. By holding this unworthiness, we are choosing to block the fullness of our light and our presence that way. We are saying no to the fullness of our divinity that can be made manifest here in 3D. We are hiding our light under a bushel, as it were, even if unintentionally. That doesn't matter. Now, for those who object to those words, please consider the full 100% of your mind is your own. It doesn't matter that you're not fully conscious of the whole of it. That is still you. Both the subconscious and the unconscious are just self. They're no one else's self, certainly. Hello? When will you own up to and claim them? Of course, I'm talking to myself here, you know. When take responsibility for them. Just because we're not conscious of something, just because we don't consciously intend to do or be something, doesn't mean we are not that. So, who among us is ready to step up to this bar? Have I set it too high? I don't think so. You may not think so either if you're making steps into heart or already find yourself here. To heart, this is clear knowledge, not mysterious at all. As we separate out from the ego self, the left brain mind self more and more, we're able to see with such clarity as the conscious mind doesn't know, isn't aware of. It will recognize and acknowledge that, however, once we're better established in our center or our heart. It's a simple enough thing then to behave responsibly by owning the fullness of the mind, instead of just the minimal part, the conscious aspect. And from heart, it's much easier to spread out into that. I want to take a pause here and share with you and just say, right now in your awareness, look out amongst your friends. How many of them are willing to own anything but what they're consciously aware of? How rare is that to find the person who's humble enough, who's in heart enough, who's aware or awake enough? What do we call it? 7% of our being is what most of us are willing to own. And for the rest, we point fingers of blame. Okay, back into it. I have found too that for the sincere heart, things are brought to the surface for our attention. Everything around us will be used in this merciful action, helping self, little s, to get to know self, big S. We can tell where we've got something to learn in one simple way: by what we resist. That holds the key to our next step. Source will take it one step deeper by representing what is resisted multiple times. Now, it generally comes from seemingly disparate or different sources, but they're singing the same tune, pointing to the same thing, the same knot in our consciousness, K-N-O-T, which is behaving as an N-O-T. What appears to be different sources is only source. Remember, all of life is source embracing us, loving us homeward. Hear the capital H and hear the Om in that? into that. It's all one big love affair. When will your eyes open and see this? When will your heart finally melt? It's there to be seen. There's no more faithful lover than Source. So anyway, what was brought to my doorstep just so in love with God. What was brought to my doorstep, I can't really explain, but only summarize. It embarrasses me still. And this itself is evidence that the energy is not fully processed, not worked through yet. When it is, all discomfort will pass. What I was shown was that I wasn't acknowledging the greatness of my being, my soul. I was totally resistant to this message. I thought for very good reason. To me, as I often say, none but God is good. And I really mean that. Any beauty, any light I see anywhere manifest in or through anything, that is Source shining out. That's how I've been seeing life for a very long time, or so it seems. Anyway, it is easy for someone on this path to go on like that endlessly if they so choose. And it's not that this belief is incorrect. It's true that all light, all goodness is truly Source or God underneath there shining out. That's not the point. With the light beings, it's always some real truth or something that resonates with that, since no real truth can be contained in words, can be fully present here in 3D. It's always some real truth that we manage to distort or twist or misapply unintentionally. As we reach for that which is perfect and pure, it can't be helped that the soil in our garments, this 3D being, covers over or diminishes some aspect of truth or distorts that. We can be no better than we are. We can't see better than we are. Another beauty of truth is that we have to be it before we can see it. By this I mean that if someone sees some special radiance in us, then it's also true that this means they have mastered that in themselves, or they couldn't see it in us or anyone. Do you see? I can, as it were, hold up a mirror to the devotee, showing them the radiant beauty of themselves. I act as that mirror, and on me they project or see their own radiant beauty. It has been the joy of my soul to point this out to many. And it's a beautiful thing to see someone awaken to that who wasn't aware of it. Well, I still see that. I still know it. But it seems, there's a but here, it seems that I may also have been using that to hide something from myself. Perhaps I was a bit too quick to turn back the compliment on the giver without enough presence or self-reflection on my part internally. I don't know at this point. I'm just exploring here, seeking truth. It's easy enough to do. Put your ideas on paper, and when you put the right one down, it just clicks. And you know, that's what journaling is about, getting to truth. Well, for me anyway. So back to what I'm learning. My 2 ways of handling praise, which I've shown you above there, worked for me pretty well. I've been content with them. When someone would try to argue the point, give me some pushback, or share with me that maybe I had not gotten to just what they meant. Now, how can I say this? Unless I found that they could talk and share with me on my own level, deeply from heart and from their own experience, it was easy enough for me to win, as it were, with my understanding of things. The mirror and none but God. Do you see? Enter spirit or source, stage left. Now comes unto me one who is indeed at my level. And parenthetically, I share, please know that I hate using such linear words, but they do share the point. So, and this one is well able to understand where I'm coming from. She continues to make her point, which I am still resistant to, that there's something very special here in this soul or being that I am. Had it not gone beyond that point, I may never have truly listened. But then it was echoed by a few others I know in various ways. Taken individually, none of them would have been able to convince me I was wrong, or that I had something more to discover in that. Like maybe all souls, I carry the marks of being led down the path of ego in many lifetimes. I have a sincere reluctance to partake of anything that could taste of that. In this life, so much of what I've discovered of light has come from or through the emptiness, the negation of self, the stepping back, at least of lesser self, in favor of the divine. And thus my hesitance to even consider what they said. But anything that happens in multiples like that, especially in threes, has the thumbprint of source all over it. We're fools not to consider it. And that's just how it is in my book. I don't know about yours. So I have started to listen, to open up to this message, whatever it is, while I still don't have anything approaching a full understanding. Each day is being revealed to me, in each day is being revealed to me previously hidden aspects of being that were in the way of my vision. The common denominator so far is this sense of unworthiness. I am finding that it acts as such a shield, keeping much away from us, preventing us from seeing much also. When we are unworthy, we don't let light fully in. We don't feel worthy of it, so that's a rejection. A free will rejection we make, albeit unconsciously. Still, I take responsibility for that. For those who would truly go, I have found in this a good way. Own the fullness of your life, not just the conscious part. Be alert, self-observant, and aware. Present in the now here moment. All the goodies are hidden there. Now, as I pull on this strand of unworthiness, I find it woven throughout my being in a lot of ways. It's a bit distressing, but I ignore that in favor of the fact that it simply is. It exists. I find it takes me way back to my early growing up. And I sense it goes back to before my memory kicks in of this lifetime. Our whole education system is an adventure in unworthiness, in competition, in never quite measuring up. It's also an adventure in never looking within, nor even acknowledging that there is such a thing, such a kingdom. Thus, we're all well schooled and trained in being, in feeling, in acting unworthy. Those that tend toward ego, they act worthy certainly, yet it is most clear in them that they are not. The act is most often just a show. Where to find worthiness or any real training in that, anywhere in this Western life of ours, I find it absent. Even going off into some monastery or convent will not bring you to that. More to its opposite. The military will teach a certain self-confident competence, but that's not what is meant here. I don't find much sense of worthiness in those who've served under arms. Those in government? Well, we won't even consider them. No. There's only one group that I know of on earth who have this sense of worthiness, which is soon taken away from them. Do you know who it is? Look into the eyes of any child or infant. You'll find it there early on, or maybe just the absence of any sense of unworthiness. Yet soon it's snuffed out, and not just by the parents, but by this life of ours. I'd say by the evidence before us that programming into a sense of worthlessness or unworthiness is most important to the powers that were. If you can't find it in anyone, that's also evidence of their success. It's worth looking into there in your own life as well. I don't have a lot to say about this just yet, but there'll be more. The inner revelations are coming fast and frequent. You just have to be watching for them, inward focused, in other words, and we are shown. This has entered into my sex life, into relationships, very much. Now, don't expect me to go into any detail there, but your imagination, your own life, is sufficient to explore the difference a sense of being of worth, of being worthy, will bring to such things. Absent that, you're very much restricted to your 3D being and drama. What is amazing is how, by the very cut of my particular beliefs, by which ones I hold, how this terrible thing managed to cloak itself and go unnoticed consciously. It's frankly shocking. That is evidence we're dealing with something unconscious or subconscious. With only 7% to work with, the conscious mind is not hard to mislead or deceive. The powers that were do it all the time, all day long. So, hidden under the guise of the truth that I know, it successfully hid for all of these decades of life. Had Source not forcefully pointed this up through the multiple avenues, I'd likely have never uncovered it. No, I don't know, of course. We all have such things woven into our garment. The garment of our aura, our 3D being, the fullness of that. Many such things are carried on, both by our lineage or DNA and through many lifetimes. Dr. Michael Newton, the author of Journey of Souls and Destiny of Souls, found that souls often work on something for thousands of years, many lifetimes indeed, before mastering it. He's the counselor that specialized in the between life state. And just a little footnote here too, this seeing things in threes, that's Source using a feather to get our attention. It's so nice to be sensitive enough to be seeing that. Okay. Well, my friends, the first thing is always just to see it, whatever it is. So turn inward. That's good advice, as self-knowledge is of value to you. Know thyself. These are very wise words. I've never learned so much about self since entering heart. since maintaining this inward focus. I've been inwardly taught so many things. I've been shown so many more perspectives than I ever imagined could even exist. I've been completely changed in it. Now, of course, one must look to the I in any such statement. Who is speaking there? And who or what is changed? Mostly, we find that it's just our self-concept that is changing, who we think we are. The real self just is and has no need of any change, being already perfect. Yet, we live in 3D, so some attention to that is appropriate too. We seek ever to bring this great perfection forth, to incarnate that as much as can be. That's the goal of all light beings, as far as I know. I'm being shown in more and more ways how this sense of worthlessness has interfered with the fullness of light that can be shown both to and through me, Teresa Ann, in this incarnation. Isn't it amazing that even as I call us to go within, to stand in our own light, in the divinity there, as I often do, yet still this thing can hide in me? Don't trust the self, my friends, little s. Be ever on the alert. Trust the higher self only. But always be suspicious of the lower self, the 3D one, also known as the conscious mind. Finally, unworthiness separates us off from our true self, for that one is oh so worthy and well knows it. Finding our unworthiness to be blindness and sin, if such thing there be as sin. In its ancient meaning, sin was missing the mark, as with an arrow. It is in truth something to be healed or simply seen through. It is false, start to finish and between. No matter at all what we've done in this life or another, worthiness is. It's not a property of lesser self, but of the greater one that we are, and so not subject to anything lesser. Worthiness is. It's not something that must be sought or even earned. It just is. It exists. It's up to us not to shoot so wide of the mark. Let us step into and own this worthiness, ours by right, by simple existence. Let us heal our wrong thoughts and impressions about who and what we are and what that, capital T, is. From heart, this is seen clearly. Enter in. And so, in closing, I hope you can see how, in truth, the journals are written for me. See how my calling for all to stand strong in our worthiness, in our heart kingdom, is my call above all. What is shared with you in my journals is really my processing, my soul journey. So don't ever think that I, Teresa Ann, aim anything that is said at anyone. As it comes through me, sometimes I may realize how it might apply to this one or that one, but that's pretty rare. I am normally empty of even such understandings. I'm just having a talk with myself here. Me, myself, and I, perhaps, but only me, whatever that is. Good day.